Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys briefly about when was the first time that you realized that you were black. Now, obviously, that question is for my black brothers and sisters. However, anyone is more than welcome to, continue to watch. Would love to hear any comments, suggestions, or whatever. And also, before I get started, make sure after watching this video that you click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And also, don't forget to click on that bell button to get notifications of when I do post a video. So, without further ado, I just want to go ahead and get right into it. I am following a particular person that posed that question in their Instagram story. And I'm not going to really share who the person is. However, the question still remains the same. When was the first time that you actually realized that you were black? And I had to think about that because it concerned me that I myself personally could not remember the first time that I realized that I was a black girl. Now, I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and for those who may not know, Memphis is a predominantly black city, okay? And the schools that I went to were, of course, predominantly black. We had our white students and Hispanic students and even Asian students were considered to be the minority. Um, Initially, I was raised by my mom alone before she remarried and met her second husband, my stepdad. But prior to that, she worked for a particular company that was based out of Memphis, and she was able to move up, career rise, and transfer. She got a promotion and transferred to Miami, Florida. I remember going to a particular elementary school, and it was during recess time, and we were playing. And I didn't hear the girl say what she said, but I heard another person to my defense, standing up for me, say, "Don't say that." Well, I learned that the girl basically basically called me an N-word. She called me the N-word. And even after learning about that, I I wasn't upset about it because to me I didn't really understand or realize what an impact that statement, that word was to someone to be called an N-word from a non-black, person. And what was so interesting is that the person that stood up for me that said, "Don't say that," was a white girl. And, the person that called me the N-word, of course, was a white girl as well. But like I said, I didn't initially hear what she said. And even after learning about what she said, um, I didn't, it didn't impact me. It didn't really, I wasn't, negatively affected by it. It didn't upset me. I knew that it was something not right about it because of the expression that my classmate who stood up for me, how she sounded and said, "Don't say that." So I said, obviously, somebody, she wasn't supposed to say that. So that was a wrong thing. And what was so interesting as well is that my teacher at that time, I believe I was in the fourth grade, fifth grade, but my teacher at the time was a black lady. So I know that sometime between elementary school and middle school, I began to realize that I was a black girl. When my mother and stepfather met and got married, um, she became a housewife, and he became the primary breadwinner, and with his job, it allowed us to move, and we actually relocated to the Chicagoland area. And I remember going to the junior high school and being one out of three kids that was black. Now, anybody that knows that when you are at that age where you're 12 years old, 13, 14, you're pretty much trying to figure things out. You don't know who you are. You're trying to fit in. Your friends are basically are a very important factor in your life around that time. That's when your adolescence begins, and that's when your body starts changing. So you really not quite sure what's going on. You don't know how to think or whatever. And it was just an interesting time for me because during this time, I also, in the midst of becoming an adolescent, we're moving. So that in itself, you have to deal with making new friends, trying to fit in, trying to learn different cultures and things of that nature. And we're in a whole nother state. We went from Miami, Florida to the Midwest. So that's a totally different culture in itself. But I remember becoming friends with a white girl in middle school or junior high school. And I remember always asking this question, um, are your parents prejudiced of black people? Is your dad prejudiced of black people? Is your mom prejudiced of black people? Are your other friends prejudiced of black people? And I'm not quite sure why that question always was brought up, but it was, or why it was such a concern for me. But obviously, something had to have triggered that. I remember walking in the hallway in junior high school and being told by a random student in passing, why don't you just go back to Africa? I remember in one of my classes, I had to, during class, get up to use the restroom, and I had my notebook, and my book open and left open on my desk. So when I went to the bathroom and returned, someone had drew a picture of a racist black caricature with a face almost looking like a monkey with a face with big ears and protruding big lips. So I knew that that was done out of from a negative place, because they waited until I left and from my desk to draw this particular racist character on my piece on my notebook, inside of my notebook paper. So those were little things that I had to deal with. I remember also being on the bus and being constantly called Blackjack, and it was just weird, But so I began to realize that I'm different. Um, I'm I knew that I was different earlier than that because I knew I'm my color is brown. I'm a black girl, and I knew that other people that were white were different because of the color of their skin. Um, but as far as when I first realized that I was black, I think that it had to have been around that time between right after elementary school and you know, junior high school. And I think that it happened during the time where we were transitioning or we were moving from the Miami, Florida area to the Midwest area. So I wanted to actually pose that question to any of you all as well. It is a very thought-provoking question. At what age did you discover or that you realize that you were black? I would love to hear back from you and know, what it is, or when was that, and how did you feel, and what all was involved in that. And I do appreciate you guys for watching and tuning in. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification, getting notifications, excuse me, of when I post a future video. Take care. Peace.